All right, you guys, here we go. We haven't had a just chatting stream in quite some time, and it's a pretty good time for it. We've got what do we got left now? I don't know what day it is. Today's Thursday, so we got about a dozen days left before the presidential election, and what we want to talk about today is not only the election itself, but what you guys think is going to happen the day, weeks, and months after the election, no matter who wins. And then I see things are really heating up in the Iran-Israel thing. The U.S. has all kinds of military aircraft and equipment over there, and Iran has told their citizens to prepare for war. So that could get a little interesting. And then, of course, I want to give you guys an update on my colon as well. And I know that's what you're waiting for. So I try and save that because it's like it's like a present almost. It's something special for you guys. Colon updates, that is. Hi, Jill. Hi, Zuchen. Hey, Zeno. Beaches is here. Hi, Jamaica. And Red Wolf. You got a notification, Red Wolf? Oh, no. I don't think YouTube meant to do that. They're sorry. What's this, a notification? What? Yeah. Zeno says I'm not American. That's okay. You can still join in the conversation, Zeno. Oh, a lot of the folks here aren't American. Jägerbomb says, honestly, I think Trump is winning. Kamala has just been caught lying too many times. Well, I agree with your assessment, and I'll go into more why. You guys know I'm a numbers geek when it comes to anything. I like numbers, but I've always been following politics my whole adult life. I do think and I always preface this by saying if the election were held today, because we have two candidates so volatile, there's no telling what stupid thing they might do tomorrow. But if it were held today, yes, I do think Trump wins. I don't think it's because of Kamala lying, because let's be honest. And I voted today. I don't know which side I put it on, but I got what did it say? I voted early. I like getting a sticker for doing the things that are just the absolute minimal amount of effort. I drove to the community center that's less than a mile from here. I went in and I filled in some circles, and then I got a sticker. But I don't think it's because of Kamala lying. Let's be honest. If it were all about lying, I don't think anybody can trump for that. Well, Hannibal says the problem is she said nothing but Trump bad with any certainty. She did. I think she really did hurt herself in a lot of these interviews she's been doing, and she hurt herself again in that whole town hall with Anderson Cooper. Because, as you said, she didn't answer. My take on this has always been, and this is why it confused me a little, the Kamala's strategy on this. The pounding the Trump bad, or Trump's a liar, Trump's a douchebag, whatever, pounding that, having that be the drum that that drives your whole campaign is going to be a loser because everybody knows that. There's nothing new in that. I don't think you swing anybody by explaining what a douche Trump is. I voted for him and I know he's a douche. We all know he's a douche. I think she needed to come out really, really strong with her alternatives as far as policy, not personality. But that's not the way she went. I don't understand that. Yeah, the whole Trump is Hitler thing, I think that hurt her. A lot of people get a little bit, their cackles up when you start calling someone Hitler. Same as if Trump were to come out and say Kamala is a communist. I don't think that's a winning thing to say. I don't think comparing Trump to Hitler is a winning thing to say. And as far as that report coming out that supposedly he had said something about admiring Hitler's generals, that's a little suspect. It came from somebody who's full of sour grapes, and apparently he said it like 5 years ago, and it just dawned on him now that he should make it public. But even more than that, that whole story was shopped around to all the major news outlets, And they all said, nah, because they could see where it's like, no, that doesn't hold any water. Excuse me. Nectar says it's quite funny how everyone defended Biden being old and then immediately jumped on calling Trump as old. Yeah, from the left. That's always the hypocrisy of politics. Both sides play that. If your side's doing it, that's bad. But when we do it, well, no, there's a reason for it. Hannibal says everyone knows Trump is an ass, right? What makes you above him? Who's the default choice at this point, right? And I think, again, and if I'm right, and things continue the way they are and Trump wins, a lot of it is the Democrats went the wrong way with their messaging. As I said, pointing out to people that Trump's a douchebag is not going to win you anything. Everybody knows that. You really needed to come out strong with what you were going to do for the country, period. I know that's a novel idea in today's politics, but Trump has been in the public eye for way too long. We all know he's a douche. That's for sure. Rover says the only thing you can guarantee from politicians is that they won't fulfill their promises. Consistently inconsistent. I agree. Chrome says, I think the Dems will lose because their platform is insane. I think they're hurting because I think their platform is very uneven and not well defined at all. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Kevin. And he says, wishing all a great night. A great day / night everywhere. Thanks. I appreciate that, Val. We all appreciate it. Now, as far as the numbers, the reason, and again, I'll say it again. This is my prediction as of today. This may change before the election. Right now, I think Trump wins, especially in watching the early returns come back. Now, there's a lot of variables if you're following early returns that a lot of people online apparently are not aware of. Democrats have historically done much, much better with mail-in and early voting. Now, 2020 was an extreme case because of COVID. And obviously, there were more Democrats that were COVID concerned than Republicans. So I don't think you could have expected the disparity to be as big this time. However, I think the disparity is so big, it overwhelms that. We'll find out on election day. But I mean, you got like Miami-Dade County now with more Republicans having early voted than Democrats. That's shocking. And even in states, the swing states where the Democrats have the edge on early voting, it's not by anywhere near the margins of 2016 and 2020. That's a big, strong indicator. That, and of course, the polls, things like New York Times just came out with their final poll of the election season. A couple weeks ago, they had done one. They had Harris by 3. In their final poll, they have it as dead even. That's a significant change.
And whatever the fuck else I say, I'm playing my new game. That's actually a remaster with a shit ton of new content by...
Are you Sonic playing a new Sonic game? Sonic playing a Sonic game. I guess that makes sense. The Dems platform is emotional vocab to target women. Yeah, and that's Beaches. That's not I don't think that's a losing strategy, but it is when it's your only strategy. You're going to do well with women anyway, and I do think that helped them. If it weren't for the abortion issue, I don't think this would even be close. I think Trump would be winning comfortably. So it's good strategy from their perspective. It's just there's not much else behind it. Johnny says, if Trump wins, I'll wait and see what he does with NATO. If he pulls out, then I don't think I'll re-up my contract. Yeah, I understand that, Johnny. I understand that. Well, we're going to find out. I hope not, but we might be finding out a lot about world affairs and where everyone stands here coming up very shortly, because it certainly seems like Israel is a retaliation attack, a retaliation strike, I think, is imminent from Israel to Iran, and that things are going to blow up. Jill says, at the very least, everyone has to admit there was no new wars when Trump was in office. True. Unlike the massive unrest overseas that has occurred during Biden and Harris. That doesn't help them, that's for sure. And whether or not things would have played out similarly if Trump were in office, we have no way of knowing. But the fact remains, you're right. I mean, there's been a lot of world unrest, and well, look what we're up against right now, as I said, with Israel and Iran. So that's definitely not helping the Democrats' cause. Beacher said, I made a lot more bacon during Trump. The big, I got, as somebody who runs my own business, I got a nice extra deduction that Trump put into place that helped me a lot. But in fairness, it was supposed to have sunset by now, and the Biden regime did keep it in place. So, I mean, it's unfair to just say, oh, Trump got me this, if you're not going to explain the fact that it could have ended, but Biden continued it as well. Big Purple Pop says, too many Democratic issues ostracize the masses, in my opinion. Topics like who should pay taxes or what sexual rights children should have always push away normal voters. Well, that's Big Purple Pops. I think now I'm in a swing state. Of course, I'm in North Carolina. So we're just deluged, just inundated with all types of ads from both campaigns. And that's what Trump is pushing really hard on, the Trump campaign. And I think when you talk to people, it's been effective. I was talking to someone with this group that I play pickleball with. Sometimes it's all seniors. And I know it hit with them. And a couple of them are, or at least were, voting Kamala. And I know those because we were having a conversation about those commercials. It did strike a chord with them. But that's who it's designed to hit, I think, is the older folks. Metal's Way said, Trump almost started a war with North Korea, which people speculated could have caused World War III. Oh, that's not entirely fair. North Korea was acting up at the administration prior to Trump's as well. And they were no closer to war with Trump in office than they were with Obama. And I have nothing against Obama. And had Trump won, Russia would have steamrolled Ukraine. Again, when you start talking about would-haves, you don't know that. Just like I say when it was brought up that no new war started under Trump and there's been all this unrest in the world during Biden's administration. Same thing there. We don't know that the same thing would have happened under Trump. We only know that it did happen under the Democrats' watch, and that's a tough one for them because they had little control over it. But you don't know that to be the case at all. There's no way to know because Trump wasn't in office. See, that's the thing, though. When it comes to politics, especially national politics, typically all the conversations tend to flow into, well, this would have happened or this is going to happen, when we don't have any way of knowing. All we can base our opinions on are the things that we know to be true. Big Purple Pop says, most young people care and even disagree too, but were raised in the censorship era. That's possible. Chrome says, the Republicans thought that early voting last time was screwy, so they compensated for it, by the way. Maricopa County has said we won't have the results for 2 weeks after. That's incomprehensible. Yeah, I saw that too, Chrome. I don't care who wins or loses. There's no excuse for that. In this day and age, in the technology we have nowadays, and beyond that, why is the rest of the world able to so effectively handle their elections, and for us, individual states take 2 weeks to count the votes? Come on, that's bullshit. I don't know what the deal is there, but that doesn't add up at all. That's ridiculous. Hannibal says, in Texas we get ads. I wish they'd leave us alone. It's going to be straight Republican here. Yeah, I don't think Texas certainly is not in play for Kamala. Cruz, I think, is going to win, but I think it's going to be closer than the Republicans would like. I do think he hangs on to win, but I don't think it's going to be at all close for Trump. Cino says, for someone not from America or doesn't care about politics, Trump did nearly start a war at the start of 2020. See, but it's not, Zeno, it's not so easy to say nearly started a war. And I know what you're referencing, but you're talking about North Korea, who was saber rattling for a significant amount of time prior to that. We had been under the threat of North Korea starting something for several years. So, again, if you want to say it was Trump that did it, that war almost started under Trump, so it's his fault. You can go with that in the same respect that you can say, well, the world's a much more dangerous place under the Harris-Biden administration. Was it necessarily their fault? Was there something they could have done to have prevented it? Of course not. What was our administration going to do to stop the events of October 7th? I blame the platypus, Ryan says. Always the platypus. Crump says, I mean, Trump is the only one to get North Korea to the table. Strong men work in Eastern politics. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that his handling of North Korea was flawless by any degree, but in fairness, I don't think there is such a thing as a flawless handling of North Korea, because you're dealing with an obvious lunatic there. Christian says both these candidates are just going to be sitting and approving the genocide of Palestinian people. Yeah, those who are on the side of Palestine and looking for a ceasefire, yeah, you don't have a good option. I'll give you that. Israel has been an American ally for decades, and you're not going to see Harris or Trump. I don't believe you may see them try and influence Netanyahu to a certain degree. I think if the hostages were returned, I think you would give Harris or Trump, more likely, I think Harris would be more vocal about it, give them more ammunition, bad choice of words, more ammunition to push for a ceasefire. So if they were to release hostages, I don't see how you can honestly justify continuing with the offensive. Curse you, Perry the platypus, yes. The guy says, Israel has stopped after America told them to do it before. Right. But the thing is, the guy, like I say, I don't think you're going to get a hard push as long as they're holding hostages. Excuse me, just my opinion. I think that's the big holdup. If they were to release the Israeli hostages, I think you would get a push from America to enough is enough. I know Israel's concern is they don't want to leave any remnants where it could happen again. But given the absolute carnage that's taken place, that doesn't really hold water. Yeah, I know who Asmongold is. I don't really follow him, Zucha, and I know who he is. Zeno Gaines said, I will vote for you. It's funny you say that, Zeno. I'm going to start doing a stream, I think, after this election has just been so horrible. I'm going to start doing President Curtis streams where you guys can come in and ask whatever the topic of the day is. You guys can ask me what President Curtis would be doing in this situation. I will appear as the president, and I will take your questions. Except unlike whoever gets in office, and whoever is president at the time, I won't send somebody out there to field them for me. I'll handle them directly. And I won't flip-flop on you. If I believe something, I'll stick with it. Nectar says, I hope President Curtis... Oh, where'd it go, Nectar? I lost your... Oh, I was just reading Nectar's post and my freaking... Is he on this? My chat jumped and I lost it. Big Purple Pop says, dictator versus terrorist contest on who cares less about their citizen reaches 1 year anniversary. Yeah. It's just so difficult because there's such a long and twisted path in the Middle East. I mean, how many centuries has the Middle East been in a state of unrest?
Now,
I mean,
I'm doing my best to listen as much as I can. So
well, I'm glad,
I don't know
Nick.
if it's been brought up yet or not.
Okay.
Did you hear about Trump wanting to get rid of payroll tax?
That's
I don't see that happening, but really wish it would.
sure.
Still feels weird. I'm paying the government to work.
Actually, that had been brought up, Nick, on a number of occasions. Ted Cruz has been a big champion of getting rid of income tax. I'm a supporter of it as well. I was kind of surprised to see Trump jump on board with it. This is my suspicion, strictly a suspicion. I don't think he will be, that will be at the top of his priority list if he gets in. I don't think he's lying about it being something that he would be behind. I just don't think it's going to be a top priority for him. I've read what different economists say that would do for the economy, and like everything else, because I'm not an economist, but like everything else, you get people, well-respected economists seeing entire diametrically opposed outcomes. Some say it would save the average American's money. Others are all gloom and doom, say it would, it would create havoc and the poor would get poorer. For me, just for me personally, I am always in favor of keeping more of my money and spending it how I want. If we get rid of income tax, are we going to spend more for products? Absolutely. Whether it were directly as an added tax onto those products, or if it's as a result of tariffs that are put in place. In either event, we're going to pay more for products. But I just don't believe that when push comes to shove, for most of us, I think we'll do better paying those at higher prices than we would having the government taking that much of our money. Chat Queen says, someone say havoc. Sounds like a good time. RJ says, I didn't know you did live streams or discuss politics. I've never seen your serious side before. We do. I don't do the topical ones as often as I'd like, just because like things like Alien Isolation happen and I can't stop playing it. But yeah, it's kind of serious side. I mean, I like to talk about topics of the day. Typically, there'll always be there'll be a fart joke in here somewhere, I guarantee. There'll be more than one. Speaking of fart jokes, you guys be proud of me. I just, my doctor ordered me, I had to get one of those Cologuard things, the Cologuard test. I got it. All right, now wait. Let me say this to all of you. The word hero gets thrown around all willy-nilly in a lot of places where it's probably not quite deserved. But the way I effectively pooped into that little bucket to send in my sample, well, it was heroic. I nailed it. Dead center with a high quality poop. I can't have colon cancer. Nobody that skilled at pooping could have colon cancer. I was not even going to send it back. It's like, I can just tell from the way I crushed this that I don't have colon cancer. But I am sending it back because I want them at the lab to be impressed too, because somebody's going to open that and it's going to open that container at the lab and they're just going to go, they'll probably have tears. I would imagine they will cry at just how magnificently I pooped into that bucket. I'm getting a little choked up myself talking about it, but I thought I'd share that with you guys. Mark the date because, you can say you were in the stream when that was announced. You're welcome. Thank you. Beaches says I sound like Randy about my poop. My poop was way more impressive than Randy's. His had greater size, but mine was just pure perfection.
Joe and I would vote.
Size isn't everything.
Trump. Cleveland would vote third party. And Brian and Quagmire would
Definitely
vote
vote Harris, yeah.
Then attempt to lecture everyone who don't to realize they're the worst people, and they have no right to lecture anyone.
I think that sounds pretty accurate. Luke says, "Good job, Curtis. Can I have your Colin? Him too. Can I have your colon as a trophy?" I know, Jack. I'm sorry. Jack says someone cutting onions in the chat. God damn it. That might have been a cousin right there. That looked a lot like it. I mean, it had that perfect form like that. And I'm not going to say that mine did sing, but I'm not going to say that it didn't. Oh, Meadows Way says, "Picture it didn't happen, Curtis." It's just Meadow. It was one of those instances that I tell you, it was such perfection that I think pictures would have almost cheapened it. You know what I mean? It was just when you're having an experience that just takes you to a different plane of existence, as did this. I think photographs would have cheapened the experience. It's something that I'm holding in here now. Now, mind you, if you happen to work in the Cologuard labs and you are lucky enough, fortunate enough to open my container, oh, something to tell your grandkids about. Sideshow Man says, Curtis sounds good. PC, the PC, so much potential. The PCS. Metal says, "Poop so hard, my man saw Nirvana." I did. I got a glimpse into the great beyond, and it's glorious. RJ says, "That sounds sus. No, I want to see photos." How dare you doubt me? RJ, I know you didn't mean that. It's just the emotion of the moment. Don't hate on RJ, you guys. He just got swept up in the emotion. No one could. I wasn't going to bring this up. And you guys know that I'm not a religious person at all. But as I delivered that poop, the angels sang. Some of them wept. There was a sublime light coming from that tiny little plastic container sitting under my great big giant ass. And it was just like a, ah. It happened. No, I know everybody wants proof now, but there are just some things that you have to take on faith. You just have to have faith in the bowel movement and understand that it was it's weren't just a couple minutes ago, weren't we having serious conversations about maybe World War III beginning and stuff? This is why I love these streams. And that's what Zeno just said. How do we go from politics to poop? And that's why I love streaming here as much as I do, without a doubt. RJ says, "Did you get high on shrooms before pooping?" No, but that would have explained a lot. I'm glad I didn't, because then I would have blamed it on the shrooms when obviously it was something that legitimately took place. Oh, and for those of you who stayed in with me and played the All of Alien Isolation, the Xenomorph figure that I ordered and I'm going to put up on the shelves here to commemorate, that should be here today. Let me check Amazon. Let me see if it's out by any chance. Be cool if we could get it delivered while we're on stream here. It is pretty a normal convo for us, Beaches. You're not wrong. Let's see. Maybe outside chance. It says it's
politics is shit, so we're still on topic.
That's a solid point, GLaDOS. GLaDOS actually makes a real point. We didn't really stray at all, if you think about it. Politics is indeed shit. The package will be here between 2:45 and 6:45. It's 2:17 right now. Outside chance. But if it does, I'll put it up for us. Oh, and also in this package, the final thing I needed or wanted for the whole restructuring of my recording room here. As you guys can see,
Definitely put the ass in assassination. That poor toilet, it needs a wall.
but the ass and assassination. I like that, President Trump. That's quality. I need that on a shirt. The other thing I ordered is a new camera, and I use webcams for these because I have a higher quality cam for shooting video and stuff, but they don't work as well as webcams. But I found this new webcam, newish webcam that has a much bigger chip, should be a much better picture, and all kinds of bells and whistles. We're gonna have fun playing with it, guys. You can zoom it using your hands. You do this, and it'll zoom out. This it'll zoom in. Oh, we're gonna play with that to no end. I play with that to no end anyway. Hey, thanks, Arkwinder. Thanks for the super chat. He says, my final prediction is Kamala 292 to 303 EC votes. Really? You think so? See, I am like I say, I'm a big poll follower and big statistic follower.
Watch
I don't.
Shapiro debate
You could be right. I don't think she can get that much.
My brain lost cells listening to those people. Not saying
I saw
all
some of that.
Harris supporters are morons. These definitely were.
Yeah.
There was one that was a trans man.
I saw him.
Didn't say anything related to the question
At all.
Bash Shapiro.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
I saw
Played
that, Nick.
It was a clown.
And people, I agree with you. People don't realize they do themselves a disservice. When you're given an opportunity to, in a large platform like that, to state your perspectives, and instead you act like a petulant child and call the person on the other side of the debate names, it just tells the whole world that you either have no idea what you're talking about or your stance is garbage and you have nothing to back it up with. It was kind of pathetic. So a couple of them were good. A couple of people saw I came up and went round and round with them and did a good job staying on topic and had solid lines of reason and logic for their arguments. Social disease says no matter who wins, this country is falling. Social disease, I hope not. But that would be the next topic that we're leading into, talking about that. What do you guys think happens with the country as divided as it is in the days, weeks, months following the election? My take is, I think if Trump wins, you will definitely get a lot of protests, and there will be big nationwide protests organized, just like there was before with the pussy hats and everything. The unfortunate thing to that is you'll always get people who will invade those protests to commit violence. So there will be a bunch of people taking advantage of the fact that a protest is going on to go and get some TVs and sneakers from Target. If Kamala wins, and especially if Kamala wins and it's close, which is probably going to be close no matter which way it goes, I think you are going to see pockets of issues. I don't think you'll see as big a coordinated protest, but I think you're going to see a lot of pockets of problems, and hopefully those won't grow and expand. But Arquinder is saying 292 to 303 for Kamala. It's possible, but now again, this is as of today, because there's no telling what Trump or Kamala might do in the coming days. But as of right now, I don't think Trump loses Georgia. I don't think he loses North Carolina. And I don't think he loses Arizona. So it's leaving less and less room for Kamala to be, not leaving no room for her to win. She definitely can win the EC, but not by big numbers. If I'm right, that's the only reason I would be hesitant to say she could pick up that many. Arkwinder says, I think massive protests. That would solve everything. We could all just get together and bang. Okay. I think massive protests will follow whoever wins. Maybe Arkwinder. Yeah, there will be protests. I worry more if Kamala wins about these militant groups. They're on edge. And I think much more so than in 2020. And we've already seen it before. If Trump wins, of course there's going to be protests. They'll embrace something as a sign of unity. Again, last time was pussy hats. They'll come up with something, and there will be marches. They won't accomplish anything, but it'll make some people feel better for having done it. Yeah, I think there will be massive protests. And again, protest is a right in America. I don't have a problem with the protests. It's that there will be those who want to cause trouble, want to take advantage for themselves, utilizing those protests as means for violence. Zeno says the idea of protesting an election result is just hilarious to me. Like, what the fuck was the point of the whole process if you're just going to refuse the result? I agree, Zeno. Now, if Kamala wins, though, the Trump people will say that this election was stolen and that's why they're protesting. Yeah, if Trump wins, it is harder for them to make a case unless the Democrats believe that the election was stolen, that there was some sort of misappropriation. Because this is how you have, what's going to really make it tough for them, if Trump, this is a long shot, but if Trump were to win and win the popular vote, especially then, what are you going to protest for? They're not getting rid of the Electoral College. The process to do it, they could never accomplish. But that's what, if Kamala wins if she wins the vote tally, but doesn't win the EC, they're going to go nuts over that again. And they're going to say, we need to abolish the Electoral College and blah, blah, blah. It's not going to happen, but that's what they'll use as justification. If Trump were to win the popular vote, I don't know what they use as justification, other than they're just upset. Hey, Xeno Games and Xeno the Wise are both here. Good to see all the Xenos. Beaches says it's going to be stolen no matter who wins. However, Trump is getting more early votes than before. Yeah, that's the math. That's the trickiest math going right now if you're trying to determine who's going to win this election. Because as I said, Republicans for the first time are pushing people to early vote. So there was going to be more early voters on the Republican side. What we have to try and figure out, because we're definitely seeing that, how much of that, what are the percentages? By doing this early vote, how much are the Republicans taking away from what is usually their dominance on election day? I love that one. That will never not be fun to me. I wish we could see the future. Excuse me, I'd give you guys the results right now. But that's the tough thing. That's what's making the predictions tough right now. Oh, I know, Hal. That's right. And that's a perfect coincidence with my xenomorph figure being out. There he is. There he is. She is. Sorry. I got in so much trouble playing the game. Every time I would call Xeno a he, she would come out and just slap the dog shit out of me. But that is perfect we're just talking about my xenomorph figure to commemorate our beating Alien Isolation is out for shipping right now. It's out and about. Look Fun says there's going to be no good to come from this election no matter who wins. Both sides will blame the other if they don't win. Yeah, you're 100% right there. Everybody's going to have a gripe.
In real
You're
life.
right. I hope not. That may not be far off from the truth. It's scary, but potentially true side. Zuchan says, did you hear about how Osmongold got temporarily banned on Twitch for calling Palestine culture inferior? Yes, I heard he got banned, Zuchan. I didn't hear all the details, though. To be honest with you, I'd forgotten about it till you just said something again. I did see a headline about it, but I did not know. I didn't know all the details of what exactly he said. Jill says Kamala has not been comparing Trump to Hitler in terms of body count, but only the parallels involved with Trump's perspective about the implementation of his Oval Office authority if he is elected. Yeah, but I still think that's a stretch. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you, but I still think that's a stretch. I do think Kamala just came out with that the other day, and I think this is, we're in the last 12 days here.
My own pee, and this is something I've never done before.
Oh, Bear. Oh. Obama knows. Well, fill us in, Mr. President. I forgot. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, we're talking about Trump and the Oval Office. I just find that highly disrespectful. Knowing what Hitler did, to compare anything going on in our politics is a pale comparison. There's no real comparison to what Hitler had done. And I think it kind of cheapens the memory of those millions of people who died at his hands. Exactly. Beecher says, as a literal historian, none of them are actually fascists or Nazis, right? And that's, I'm not a big fan of that either way. And in fairness, I'm not a big fan of, just because I vote for Trump doesn't mean I lose all wherewithal and reason with the other side. I don't like when Democrats are automatically called communists. I mean, come on. Jesus Christ. What the rank and file Democrats especially want and strive for are in no way related to or look anything like communism. I don't like when Michelle Obama gets called Big Mike. Just because you're voting for one side doesn't mean you have to be an absolute scumbag, douchebag to everybody on the other side. Now here's the problem. Iridian says, Curtis, you're forgetting that Trump himself has quoted Hitler and stated he wanted generals as loyal to him as Hitler's generals. You're forgetting that nobody knows that he actually said that. You realize that him saying that was something brought up by, what's his name? Oh my God, that worked in the Trump administration. General, I can't remember his name. But anyway, he said he heard Trump say that several years ago and apparently just remembered it now. And everybody else involved, or many other people involved, and had more time with Trump and had Trump with all of them in the same situations, in the day-to-day operations, said they never heard anything like that. The story was so weak that when that story was shopped around to CNN and NBC, CNBC, all of them passed on it. They said, no, there's not enough there. That just sounds ridiculous. And but you're seeing right there the power of social media. Trump said, we don't know for a fact that Trump said anything like that. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even look likely that he said that.
Just put a knife in it. I think that's a really good
Let's just put a knife in it.
Beautifully.
Beautifully. Kelly, thank you, Hannibal. His name was gone right out of my head. Right, and as Hannibal said, Kelly also kept working for a year after that and was fired, not resigned. Right, Kelly definitely has an axe to grind, so you have to take things like that with a grain of salt. Now, if you have tape of him saying it, then I'm right with you. You got any sort of proof. You got video, you got audio tape, but Kelly saying it, so what? He's had an extra. He hates Trump. He despises him. And it just seems odd, the timing that he would just remember that this happened a couple weeks before the election. I mean, I love that. I don't know why the fart, well, because it's a fart joke. I was going to say why the fart at the end of that makes me laugh so hard, but as I said, it's a fart joke. Ridian says, who said it was ridiculous? The former cabinet members who have come out against him and some of whom explicitly said he was unfit for office and a danger to the U.S. And as I said, Iridium, they're entitled to their opinion on that. But when you say that, you're taking the word of the ones who align with what you want to believe. There are plenty of people that worked in his administration. And I hate this, that you guys force me into defending him, because I don't even like the man as a person. But because certain people don't like the way he does business, or he fired them, or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that everything they say about him is gold. It doesn't mean that it's truth. as I was saying at the beginning of this, when we started having these conversations where people's feelings come into it more than anything else, talk to me about things that are on tape. Talk to me about things that are proof that somebody wrote, that that the person themselves had written as a stance in the past, or that you have video evidence of, or that you have audio proof of. Then we'll talk. But he said, she said stuff means nothing. And that's to either side. It's just like that whole thing where they were coming out, they tried to get walls for inappropriate relations with kids and bringing them to China for nefarious purposes and stuff. Come on. I mean, you're going to call somebody out on things like that with nothing, no real proof? It's the same thing. Rick says, I actually do have a tape of him saying exactly that. You can't see it, though. It's mine. I don't want to share. Archfinder says, regardless, I don't really trust a 78-year-old to be president. Same reason I want Biden gone. He's too old and not all there anymore. And not just because I'm old. I don't like throwing everybody of a certain age group into one category. If you feel that Trump is slipping, that's fine. But saying that nobody at 78 could handle it, I don't think is fair either. Because I know a lot of people and have known a lot of people in that age and even beyond that are just amazingly sharp. Now, again, if you feel that Trump is slipping, well, that's a separate issue. You're certainly entitled to that opinion. But to make a blanket statement saying anybody at 78 is too old to be sharp to be cogent, I would disagree with that. Crow says, by the way, in good news, not only do we have an Alien Isolation 2 announced, yes, we now have a sequel to the movie Alien Romulus announced. Oh, really? That did really well, didn't it? Alien Romulus. Zeno says, I have a tape with Donald Trump saying he likes anime. That one I don't believe either. He's not cool enough to like anime. Nectar says there are plenty of dumb 30-year-olds and plenty of sharp 80-year-olds. We should leave that to medical exams and doctors. Right. I'm not for, and you guys know if there is one group that I have preconceived notions about, it's old people, even though I am one myself. But in fairness, I just don't like putting that on anybody, saying, well, everybody that's over 75 should not be able to hold this office because you can't be sharp at that point. That's not true. Arquinder says, to clarify, when I say too old, I mean also the stress of the job would be far stronger on an old person. Same way I agree with the 35 minimum age thing. No, I disagree there too. I don't think that you can make that blanket a statement. I'm not 75. I'm 63. I can guarantee you I don't have any more difficulty handling stressful situations. As a matter of fact, I would consider myself better at handling stressful situations now than when I was 25, just because I've had enough life experiences now to teach me some of the things I shouldn't do in those situations. So no, even painting a blanket as to, oh no, you're too old to handle it. No, I don't agree. Your mom sucks. Says I'm voting for Bozo the Clown for president. Some would say your mom sucks. Some would say that no matter in this election, no matter which dot you fill on your ballot, you just voted for Bozo the Clown. I don't even know that I could argue with them. Nectar says, if you can run the whole presidential campaign and survive the stress, then you should be fine being president. That's true. Again, listen to the doctors and exam results. Yeah. Like as I said, I don't like putting a blanket over any group of people along those lines. Forge in Hell's Flame says, I think the under 35 thing is BS too. Remember, Chachi Uchiha had a Hokage level mindset at a young age. I don't know. That is kind of a random. I've never really thought that much about that. About, the minimum age to run for president being 35. Where did they come up with that number, I wonder? Because in the same vein that I know plenty of 75-year-olds and have known that are very, very sharp, I know a lot of 20, 21-year-olds that are very sharp. And I know a lot of 20, 21-year-olds that are wildly immature too. Just like I know a lot of 75-year-olds that, shouldn't, I wouldn't let them light a candle, let alone run the president's, or run the country. So yeah, I don't know where that 35 comes from. That's true. Hannibal says 35 was bigger back during the founding fathers' time. That's true too. What was life expectancy back then? Mid 60s or so, maybe? Wasn't it back in their time? It's funny you guys bring that up. You guys may never be rid of me because a while back, Braxton had to do an assignment. It was his senior year in high school, had to do a genealogy thing. And so he traced our genealogy. Holy crap. On both sides of my family, we had multitudes of people living to be late 70s into their 80s, back when life expectancy was 55, and they're all over. I might not die. I say that I'll be dead before the stream's over. Damien, hey, good to see you again, my friend. Thanks for the super chat. Damien says, you may hate that you're defending Trump since you don't like him, but hey, at least it shows you aren't biased. Take wins where they lie, I guess. Yeah, I guess. I try and be honest with you guys. I not try. I do. I'm honest with you guys. I'll tell you exactly what I feel. And as I said, I just voted. I voted for Trump. But I can't stand Donald Trump. It's just that his platitudes, his policies more closely align with mine. It's that simple. I vote for president based on policy, not personality. Although I think the Democrats should have come up with someone other than Kamala, because she doesn't have an inviting personality either. And I think for a lot of people, personality is as important as policy, if not more so. I think they missed a real opportunity there. You're not wrong, RJ. RJ says you might not die. That sounds like a challenge to chat. Chat may kill me, because for those of you who were playing Alien Isolation with us, the jump scares they posted to the stream, a couple times I thought they got me. Scared the living shit out of me. Beaches says Curtis equals reason, not emotion. Yeah, depending on the subject, obviously. I think in personal issues, sure, emotion should be a driving factor. But in making my choice for any elected office, president, governor, whatever, I think it's much, much more about policy and reason. 56.6 years old was their life expectancy, apparently, back in the days of the founding fathers. That's why I'm amazed.
It's true, I said boo, and he nearly jumped out of his skin.
Yeah, Hal got me a bunch of times, actually. But yeah, when Braxton was doing that genealogy thing, I was amazed. We got this one lived to be 83, and this one lived to be 79. We had some that were pushing 90. I mean, this is back in the days when they were using leeches medicinally. Just some girl without a mustache. I love that screen name. When I'm in a terrible candidate competition, my opponents are Trump and Kamala. Yeah, that's, guys, I think on both sides, you guys tell me if I'm right, I think we can all agree on this. This election would have been easy pickings for either side if they had run a better candidate. Do you guys agree with that? I think Trump is easy to beat, and I think Kamala is easy to beat. But instead, they each ran massively flawed candidates. And especially from the massively flawed, particularly from the personality standpoint. 100%, yes? Giant douchers, turds. See, I thought you guys would agree with that, because I think it doesn't matter whether you're right or left. I think we can all see that. It was a great opportunity for both sides, and both sides blew it. Damien, thanks again for the super chat. So I'm trying to figure out how I feel about Curtis never dying. On one hand, I love his videos, want to keep watching. Thank you. On the other hand, we really want to give Curtis, of all people, this power. If I'm being honest with you guys again, no, you don't want me to have that power. I've always said, if I became a superhero, I'm not using those powers for good. I'm going to be looking at a lot of boobies. I know that. Doesn't matter what the superpower is. You versus Peter Griffin. That'd be a good one, Xeno Games. I'd vote for Peter.
Yes, the movable object.
The stoppable force was the movable. That's well said, Hal. And that's what we got. I mean, both sides had such a great opportunity to win this election handily, and they both blew it with crappy candidates. Oh, yeah. XF, we're talking about the goings on in the Middle East, and now also with Ukraine and Russia. XF, and thank you for the super chat. Says thoughts on NK soldiers shipped to Ukraine. Not a huge surprise. We're talking about North Korea, is what I meant to say early on in the stream. And anything that he does over there, nothing can be a surprise to you. And him being, good pals with Putin and everything, it's not surprising. Nectar says Russia can send any soldiers to Ukraine and call them volunteers. That's not new. Same as Western sending volunteers. No one can say anything. Yeah, it's getting scary, Nectar. Well, Nectar, you're in Russia, right? Am I remembering properly? Yeah, it's getting really, really scary. It can't be understated what a big deal this is if Israel, and Israel's going to respond. So Israel is going to hit Iran at some point here. And it seems like it's going to be some point soon.
I must leave you now. My Sonic the Hedgehog game has finally arrived in the mail.
Oh,
and that
good for you,
clearly
Lex.
takes priority over the political future of our species. See you
Correct.
later.
GLaDOS, thanks. Lex, thanks for being in. No, go play your game. Absolutely. Let us know. Hopefully I'll be streaming. If I stream tomorrow, it'll be late because I have a Notre Dame game at noon. You guys know that's that's as close to religion as I get. But whenever I stream next, let me know how the game is. Oh, okay. Nectar says, I used to live in Russia when the war started. Scary shit. Their brainwashing propaganda is on another level. I believe it. See, it's funny. I've always been, I can tell you guys, you all see every day how the post-concussion has just destroyed my memory. But I've always been able to say that I can also prove that I'm not bullshitting you guys when I tell you how important these communities are to me. By these communities, I mean specifically the gang here in chat and specifically over at the Goosh where we have these small, tight-knit communities. Because for me to remember things like Nectar being from Russia, it's just, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. But for me, it is, because look at how many different people we have in chat. And I remember so many things about so many of you. It just tells me that that's the limited storage space I have left is being utilized, is prioritizing things here. Is he coming back? Metal says, hey, speaking of concussions, my boy Tua coming back this week. Is he coming back this week? I felt bad for that kid. That's rough what he's been going through. Metal, though, my big concern and concussions is something I can speak on from a respected point of reference, having had as many as I have. I'm concerned for the guy because that last concussion he got, Metal, that wasn't that hard a hit. I'm not doubting he got concussed. I'm sure he did, but that's the problem. And that's what I was told by doctors. Every concussion you get makes you more likely to get more because you crashed your brain into your skull and did damage. And ever since he was at Bama, he's had such a problem with concussions that I'm just afraid for his future. I don't think there's any way he's going to be able to avoid more. I don't think it's going to take much. I can tell you guys now, when I was wrestling, you've seen video clips, the things I could take and survive were pretty impressive. And I think of all the punches I've taken between boxing and street fighting. And, I've got my share of concussions, but they were all from big, spectacular moves. I was resilient to them in the fact that I've had anywhere from 10 to 12. And other than the memory issues, no long-lasting effects. But now, just the other day, and I may have told you this, I have enough concussions I can't remember. I was walking into my house, and our van was parked close to the garage. So as I got in between the garage and the the, van, we have a light on the side of the garage. I was about to hit my head on that light, and immediately I snapped my head away, just as a reflex to not bounce it off that light. Just that snapping of my head gave me bad concussion symptoms. So that's why I cooled off on the idea, because I really wanted to go back in the ring for one more match. And it's like I have very little room for error when it comes to concussing myself anymore. But I'm 63 and I've had a shit ton of them. I guess it was inevitable. Visual FX guy says, street fighting, could you take on Ryu? Oh, I kicked his ass all the time. At least in my mind, because I can't remember anything, so I create. Just some girl without a mustache says, yeah, I hope the Dolphins can get the Hawk to a head. They figured, yeah, that's... I like the kid, and I'm not an Alabama fan and not a Dolphins fan, but I like Tua, and I hope I'm wrong. But boy, I saw that last hit and how bad he was concussed. It's like, damn, dude, that really wasn't that wasn't an extreme. He put his head into the linebacker's chest, but there wasn't that hard head snap that usually causes a concussion. It's concerning. Right. Well, it says must have won because he can't remember losing. There you go. Let's go with that. Aswan goal. Okay, Zuchen. I'll try to remember to look for that. Nectar says, Curtis, take care of your health. My roommate, 61-year-old dude, had a stroke. Ooh, and I called 911 a few weeks ago. It's scary. Take care of yourself. Yeah, I try. My biggest thing is I like to eat junk, crap food. And I'm not a nutritionist, but I know what's good for me and what's not. I don't care. I just eat it. Working out's never a problem. I like working out. I still work out all the time. Every day I have a whole regular workout routine, and then I add more to that routine on certain days. But I just like to eat junk. The upside is, and I've gotten this is coming from doctors, for whatever reason, my body, both in physical structure and internally, is very, very tough. And I'll tell you what I mean, because, again, this has been told me by doctors. First of all, my bone density is off the charts. I told you guys the whole thing about them measuring my head, and it literally is off the chart. And that's all due to the bone density. That's helped me a lot. That protected me in my wrestling career. I was able to do the things I did for as long as I did because of that. I didn't know it at the time, but that's what was protecting me. And then I find out at my height and weight and diet, both my doctors, my doctor I had in New York and now my doctor I have here, they both just throw their hands up because my blood pressure has always run borderline high, but that is a genetic thing. I've had that since I was in great shape when I was boxing and stuff. It's always done that. My sugar stays great. My cholesterol stays good. All these things that should be fucked up on me are not. And even things like libido and stuff. You see what a horny old fart I am. How much I like boobies. None of that's going away. All these things that are supposed to be taking place as far as changes for me aren't happening, except the growing hairs everywhere. That is not a misnomer with guys. I have to look in the mirror every day just to try and gross you guys out a little less, to pluck eyebrows that have grown 3 feet overnight, and they'll grow into my ears. Oh, it's fun. That stuff's great. I'm just big bone. Metal says, yeah. Well, that was the conversation I had with the one doctor. I think I told you guys that. When he was telling me about, because I was getting one of my many x-rays, and he was talking about the ridiculous density of my skull. And it was when we were talking about the concussions and everything. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, I've been telling everybody for years that my head is this big because of brains. He goes, no, dude, here's the x-ray. It's bone. I know you can't even see my eyebrows, can you? They're so light now. They were redder when I was younger. Now we'll have to see, Jack. You'll have to remind me. I told the guy I've got a new camera coming with a much better resolution, much deeper resolution. And as I said, it's, I can zoom it by using hand gestures and things like that. I'll zoom that one in. If you have a weak constitution, you might not want to be here for that one. But we'll see if you guys can actually see my eyebrows. Jill says, eyebrow list is more gorgeous for you, Curtis. Well, thanks. I appreciate that, Jill. But yeah, it looks like they're not even there. They are thinner than they used to be because when they grow in now, like I said, they grow to where I'm afraid they're just going to wrap around my head like a turban after a while. It's ridiculous how many of them I have to pull. Chrome says, my storage space is screaming already from all the video files. Yeah. Hell yeah, zoom in, zoom right in. Jack says, we'll try it. We'll try it with the new camera, Jack. It's coming today between 2:45 and 6:45. I've actually been trying to get everything done today early, so when the camera gets here, I can spend the evening getting it all set up so I can have it ready for recording and streaming tomorrow. Nectar says, I also have high bone density thanks to genetics, but I kind of ruined my health by stress during hardcore university studies. You actually helped me relax a lot with anime reactions back then. Well, I'm glad to know you got some relaxation from that. Stress is tough. Stress is, well, I don't have to tell you guys that. Stress is probably one of the most, if not the most lethal thing in this modern world to humans. I would think. I do a pretty good job. I get stressed out like anybody else, but I used to get much more so. I've taken on, my approach to that is, and I know it sounds simple, but it worked for me. My approach to that is, not being a religious person, I believe that our existence is a magnificent stroke of luck. We defied every odd you could ever imagine just in the fact that we exist. So given that and how short life is, I'm not going to spend a lot of time sweating shit. I'm not going to stress it. Things can get me stressed, but it has to actually be a legitimately big deal. I refuse to any longer, like I did when I was younger, talk myself into being stressed. Well, this might happen. Oh, let's worry about it. Who gives a fuck? I'll deal with it if it happens. I'm aware that it might happen. So that's why, again, what you see is what you get. I don't put on airs for you guys or anything. I laugh so easy at trying not to laugh and stuff because I love laughing, and I'm a happy person for the most part. I have seen Brock Lesnar's daughter medal. Oh yeah, was she a shot putter and one of the best in the country? And boy, does she's got daddy's genetics. Whew. Chrome says Nevada in-person early voting R plus 24.9 and Florida R plus 27. Woof. That's what I'm talking about. What Chrome's talking about here. Now, Florida, Democrats would have you believe that Florida was in play. I never believed that was in play. Nevada was. R being 24 plus 9, early voting has always heavily favored Democrats. Now, again, there's a reason for the Republicans to be doing better this year. This is the first time Republicans have encouraged early voting. But the numbers are so dramatically different. I don't think, this is just my opinion, I don't think the Democrats can make it up on Election Day. That's why right now I'm predicting a Trump win. But as I said, I might be predicting something different tomorrow. Who knows? Doesn't Trump do that Rogan interview today? He might do something there that changes it. Yeah, Hannibal, you're not wrong. Says Harry Reid rolling in his grave with those numbers. You're not wrong. In early voting for Nevada to be R plus 25, that's insanity. And I know that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, and I understand that. I'm just, again, politics nerd and a numbers nerd. So when those two paths converge, it's amazing to me. That just never happens. It is Christian says, Georgia is going to be a virtual deadlock. You could be right on that one. I disagree. My prediction, I think Trump wins Georgia by a couple points. I think Pennsylvania is where we're looking at a virtual deadlock. Michigan, too. Michigan, if I had to make a pick right now, I think Kamala might eke out Michigan. These are just my predictions. Georgia, I think Trump takes. I think he takes here in North Carolina. Pennsylvania is brutally tight. Again, if I had to bet, I'm going to bet Trump in that one, though. Yeah, you know, I can sympathize. He says, I unfortunately am a stat nerd with politics. Yeah, I always love stats. I think that comes from, I've been a baseball nerd from early days. I mean, I became a huge baseball fan at like 5 or 6. So my favorite player, Roberto Clemente, I was so into it. If I was watching a game, and you didn't get to watch games at home very much when I was a kid, because you only had 3 channels. But when he would come up to bat, I would know what his batting average was, and whether he got a hit or not. I could figure out what his batting average was after every at bat, because I was so nerded out for all that stuff. The counties in the Metro Atlanta area are pretty blue. Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely, they are pretty blue, no doubt. But I don't. And again, this is don't. I'm not trying to say I know something no one else says. This is just predictions from what I'm seeing. I don't think they're going to be as blue as in 2020. And I could be 100% wrong, but from what I'm seeing from early tallies, or not even just in Georgia, but the early tallies nationwide that try and give you a feel where they're moving, I don't think they're going to be as blue, and that's why I think Trump takes that by a couple points. Hey, Oni, good to see you. Oh, mail-in ballots are typically heavy Dem. Early voting was always typically heavy Dem too, but mail-in, it's usually like 75-25 for Democrats with the mail-in. CJP says, I just want to point out that Chrome is from the UK and is more informed in American politics than 99% of the absolute dolts I meet day to day. 100%, without a doubt, she is. Which goes for most topics, honestly, and that's good. No, Chrome amazes me with her knowledge of American politics, and I would be amazed by Chrome's knowledge of American politics if she was American. I mean, Chrome knows her shit. Just some girl without a mustache says, I don't know anything about Georgia voting, but I think that Bulldog guy I heard about might win. That Bulldog? Oh, you're talking about, the Georgia Bulldogs? No. It took me a second. I'm trying to think, what politician relates to a Bulldog? Yeah, the Georgia Bulldogs. They're only that bad first half against Georgia away from being a freaking juggernaut again. They're tough. Damn. Johnny says, I think Kamala is going to win, but holy shit, it's tighter than a nun's cunt. Agreed. I mean, it's going to be... Even if the final Electoral College vote doesn't appear close, I still think it's going to be a close election, because I think those swing states are going to be very thin. The margins are going to be very thin. See, if there was any reason to believe that the Republicans are going to dominate election day voting as they have in 2016 and 2020, this is not even close. Republicans would run away with it. But there's every reason to believe that they're not going to have that big advantage on election day, because so many more of them are voting early. This election is going to come down to low propensity voters, and of course, as it always does, to true independents, ones that actually will swing one way or the other. Just some girl on a mustache says, I think Georgia impregnated my Longhorns last week. I can't stand seeing how limited the Longhorns look with viewers. Just let Manning have his fun. Manning's definitely the future. Ewers doesn't look like the Heisman candidate they were all talking about, does he? Jeez, I mean, he's a good quarterback, but he has not struck me as elite at all. Chrome says, I've actually scared some people with how good at research I am. Like, the insurance test I need to do for work needs 70% to pass. My pre-test papers are at 92%. I believe it, Chrome. Because I am... specifically with Chrome and in general, I've said this before with our group here, I'm just amazed by you guys' breadth of knowledge. It's just ridiculous. We can talk about any topic. And what really kills me is we'll talk about topics where I lived through them, a certain event, And then you guys who are 30 years younger than me know more about it than I do. That part pisses me off. You guys should stop doing that. But it's like today. Once again, now we've had a stream. Look at all the politics we're talking in the midst of a presidential campaign. No, there was no name calling. Everybody was respectful of everybody else's opinions. That's what I love about having these conversations. Beaches says, "Are you a suburban woman who decided in this election like the last?" I'm not sure what you mean, Beaches. XF says, "Do you think any drastic global events will tip the scales if they happen within the next week?" That's an excellent question. I don't think significantly, but in fairness, you don't need a significant seismic change to swing this election. See, this normally, I would say, if they're... Well, see,
You, Curtis.
the
You
war...
said there was no name calling. You should know better than that.
Hal, you're 100% right. I acquiesce. Oh, here we go. Got a tangent party. But that was a good question from XF. Hey, we finally got a Halloween one. We went all day yesterday with none. At least we got one. But globally, I don't think it's going to be a big factor. It has the potential to hurt, I believe, the existing administration, though. The sitting administration. Finally, we were waiting all day yesterday to get a Halloween Tangia party. We had, 4 or 5 parties yesterday, and not a one. This one's different, too. Oh, I like that pumpkin. It's a nice butt right there. Because Trump is already harping on the, in my 4 years, there were no new wars. And is any of this, certainly in the Middle East, you can make some cases for Ukraine and Russia, but certainly in the Middle East, let's be fair, there's no policy that Biden and Harris could have had in place or put in place that was going to stop that from taking off. But yet they're gonna get the heat for it because there was not any new wars while Trump was in office. There's a lot of things in politics, especially national politics, where politicians bear the brunt of something that they had no control over. Have I ever been in love? Yeah, my wife's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm thinking, let's see, we've been together for 32 years, been married for 27 years. Maybe today would be a good time to tell her I love her. Yeah, maybe I will. Chrome said, I genuinely think Kamala will start a war to show how tough she is. But see, the thing is, Chrome, I don't think she's in a position to start a war. The reason I say this one, I think, will adversely affect the existing administration because, excuse me, guys, Afro Mike, don't start. This is a war in the Middle East. And everybody knows there's been unrest in the Middle East, as I said, for centuries. We are going to get involved on Israel's side, but we are not direct participants in the war. Wars typically help a candidate with a feeling of patriotism. There's no, you're not going to get a big push of patriotism from us being involved with helping Israel. As a matter of fact, on the Democratic side, you're going to get a lot of pushback, people who would rather we weren't involved at all. That's why I say that. Now, if we're talking something different, if we're talking about Kamala starts a war with Russia, as bizarre as it is, that might get her more votes. But just being a part of an existing conflict, I think is going to hurt her. Oh, you mean in general start something? I wouldn't put it past. I honestly think it's too late, Chrome. When you figure how the early voting has been so insanely substantial this year, I mean, it's crazy. It's got to be, I would think this has got to be the lightest election day vote totals we'll probably ever have because so many people have voted early. I don't think she can come up with something to have an effect that quickly. Right, I get what you're saying now, Chrome. And I wouldn't have put that past her. I just think that ship has sailed. I don't think it would be effective now. Oh, if she wins, you think? It's possible. I see. Okay, I misunderstood you. Oh, I would hate to think that's the case. I wouldn't put anything past the politician, though. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Want to show strength. Yeah. Trump abandoned Afghanistan to the Taliban? Is that something? RJ, Biden pulled out of Afghanistan and the Taliban took over. Beaches says if Trump wins, the Kamala Biden still can do things before he takes off in January. That's true too. But what Chrome's talking about, that wouldn't be effective. Because demonstrate what to people? He's still going to take power. But I do see what Chrome's believing is that Kamala's going to want to show that, she can be as tough as the boys. I see what she's saying. I hope that's not the case. Visual FX guy says, I know the worst president of my lifetime, President Snow from the Hunger Games, of course. Yeah, he was kind of a dick. I love the Hunger Games. Man, that was such a great series. So good. Nectar says, if Trump loses, I doubt he'll be able to run in 2028. So what will Republicans do then? Kamala is young enough to run again. Yeah, he has said, not that you can trust what Trump says, but he said he wouldn't run again. And no, I don't. There wouldn't. He'd be, 82? No, that ship will have sailed. I agree with you. Who I think is going to really ascend through the Republican ranks is Tulsi Gabbard. Just the other day, she switched her affiliation officially to Republican, and she's very well liked. I think you're going to have to keep an eye out for Tulsi in the future, no matter who wins. Oh, definitely. I think Trump, I agree, Chrome. Trump will position Vance as the next president. If Trump wins, as it stands now, that's, this is 4 years from now, a million things could change. But as it stands right now, if Trump wins, I would say in 2028, the Republicans put forward Vance and Gabbard. That's what I think you're going to see. Yo, Gabbard, yeah. I do think she's going to, she's a darling now. She, that's a big deal to a lot of these hardcore Republicans. She made that switch. She pushed the Democrats aside, and and she's a very good public speaker, unlike a lot of the people we've had running for major office. I don't agree with his policies. The best public speaker I've seen that has been seriously considered as a presidential candidate was Pete Buttigieg. Now, again, I don't agree with a lot of Buttigieg's platitudes, but you cannot deny that the man is really, really well spoken. And I think Tulsi is right in that league. She's a quality speaker. Oh, I agree, Chrome. She says, I think Kamala tripped up pretty badly refusing the Rogan interview. Yeah. What's Rogan's audience? 40 million? I think Kamala has gotten gun shy now because this town hall didn't go well for her at all. The Fox interview, of course, was an absolute nightmare. But she's doing it to herself. Answer the questions. That's all she's got to do. Don't, when you get asked a direct question, don't tell us about Donald Trump. We're all aware that Donald Trump's an asshole. We get that. Answer the question, and she just won't. And even the CNN panelists were saying, was it Van Jones? One of them was saying, after the whole thing with Anderson Cooper, one of the panelists was saying, I just can't take any more of the word salad. And these are people who are Democrats. Answer the questions. RJ says, my mistake about Afghanistan. I thought it was all on Trump for negotiating the agreement that Biden followed. Well, the thing of it was, RJ, a lot of people tried to put that blame there. But the problem with that is it doesn't hold water only because Biden undid everything Trump had put into place as soon as he got in office, like the Remain in Mexico. All of these things that Trump had in place, Biden undid, which is fine. It's his right. But then you don't get to turn around and say, well, this was messed up because it was Trump's plan and I decided to use it. Why would you use Trump's plan? You know, you've demonstrated to us that you don't want anything to do with Trump. They had to say that because, and pulling out of Afghanistan, you could make a solid case for why we needed to do it. I don't necessarily agree. I think you when we have a military over there, that's less chance of them coming here. But even if you can make that case, he just bungled it. It was not well thought out. That always struck me as Biden always liked to be a tough guy too. That's been his whole political career. He's positioned himself that way. And I think he decided that he's going to show the American people when he wants something done, he gets it done. We're out of Afghanistan. And I don't think he let his military commanders, who should have been in charge, put it this way, I think he gave them a time frame. And you shouldn't have a time frame on stuff like that. That's why Americans died. So he bungled that. It's not the idea of pulling out of Afghanistan, it's how he did it. Jamie says, politics would be so much simpler if everyone just settled things with rock, paper, scissors. I agree. CJP says, Trump had my vote against Biden because no president should knowingly and willingly leave American citizens in a hostile foreign nation. And that's what I mean. It's not the idea of pulling out of Afghanistan that hurt him. It's that the operation was so bad. So bad. Nectar says, Biden pulling out of Afghanistan was the most fun Russian media has had in the last decade. I'll bet. You shouldn't give your enemies that. Yeah, I'll bet. And for those of you who've come in recently, Nectar used to live in Russia. Yeah, I'm certain. I'm sure they had an absolute field day with that. No question about it. Phineas and Ferb is getting a new season. Somebody told me that, Zuchen. I had forgotten about that, but now that you say it, I remember somebody telling me that. I loved Phineas and Ferb. Jimmy Martin says politics. Oh, I'm sorry. I just read that one. FXI says, speaking of Phineas and Ferb, I recently learned that the series creator, Dan Povenmire, worked for Family Guy during the first 5 seasons. Oh, really? I didn't know that. I loved Phineas and Ferb. I thought that was such a cute show. The whole concept was cute. You know, the boys always getting one over on their sister so she could never catch them. I just, simple things like that are fun. Excuse me. Yes, that is true. CDV says, is it true that Trump is making an appearance on Rogan and Kamala refused the invitation? Yeah. Oh, that's what's leading into it. I think Kamala has gotten gun shy about these types of things. And the thing with Rogan is, Rogan's chill. I don't think he's going to be looking to gotcha either of them. But I think in both cases, I'll give Rogan this, I don't think he'll let them dodge questions. Whatever he does decide to ask them, you're not going to be able to give a word salad, non-committal answer. I think he will stay on you. And I think Kamala doesn't like that. Trump probably shouldn't like that, but Trump's ego tells him he can handle any situation. But I think that's why Kamala wants to stay away from that. Again, we just saw what just happened with Anderson Cooper. We saw what happened to her on the Fox interview. I think she feels like she can't risk it. It might be a bad move for Trump. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. But again, I don't think Biden's going to come at or would have come at either one of them. But I think he'll ask questions people want to hear answers to. And whether it's Trump or Kamala, I don't think he's going to let you slide with sidestepping it. Boxing Dream says, have you ever seen Fairly Odd Parents? Oh, love that one. Braxton, I loved it. I don't know if it was popular in the U.S. Oh, sure, it was big here. Yeah, I love Fairly Odd Parents. And that was one, When I heard the concept of it, I remember because Brax was just little. I was like, I don't know about this. And that was hilarious. Cosmo and Wanda were great. Yeah, I love Fairly Odd Parents. That was one of my favorites. FX Guy says, I would rather be interviewed by Alice Cooper than Anderson myself. I thought Anderson did a good job. I don't think he was ever disrespectful. But, I mean, he did what a journalist is supposed to do. He asked her tough questions. And when she didn't answer him, he tried to stay after her on it. That's what they're supposed to do. And now he's taking all kinds of heat, I guess, from pundits on the left, saying that he was too hard on her. There's no such thing as too hard on a presidential candidate. Just some girl on a mustache says Fairly Odd Parents is great. Yeah, shame the creator is one of the worst artists on the planet. Oh, really? XF says, I worry about that, LL. Rogan is a little timid when it comes to large-scale guests. He plays a little... He does. That's why I say I think... XF, I think he won't go for any gotchas. I don't think it's going to be a tough interview, but I do stand by. I think if he does have a question, I don't think he'll let them skirt it. I may be wrong. And you're right. Rogan is not known, and I don't think he wants to be known as a hard-hitting interviewer. He's an entertaining interviewer. So along with any questions that are really pertinent, I think he'll ask a lot of superfluous stuff and have some fun. But I do honestly believe he'd have done that with both of them. I just think, as I said, I think Kamala's a little gun-shy now because the CNN town hall and that interview she did on Fox, I think both hurt her a lot. When you saw all those clips being sent all over social media, I think that really hurt. Boxing Dream says, I heard you say earlier that you used to box a little. I did. I'm actually making my amateur boxing debut next month. Oh, very cool. Very cool. It's all different for you guys now, isn't it? I don't follow amateur boxing that closely. Isn't it 4 2-minute rounds now? When I amateur box, it was 3 3-minute rounds. That doesn't make a big difference. It's just that I see there's a lot of things different. The scoring system kind of sucks, though. I don't like that where you can, well, I'm partial to this. I don't like that you can win a fight based on playing tag. Just reach out, tap somebody, keep hitting them with that white part of the glove and get points for it. And that's only because that wasn't my game. I was just looking to corner people and thump them. I didn't have great hand speed, didn't have great foot speed, but I could punch really hard. Johnny says, Curtis, are we ready to call Ohtani the GOAT? He's phenomenal. Depends on what context, Johnny. If you're greatest hitter of all time, no, not yet. Greatest player, if you take into account what he does pitching and hitting, he's got a solid case there. Solid case. And he's still got a lot of years left. We could be calling him the GOAT by the time it's done. He's fun to watch. This series is going to be a blast with him and Judge. This is the first World Series in history that pits two guys with 50 or more home runs in a season against one another. Did you hear a squeak? It's my chair. The Spaz chair. I got to get some WD-40. Spaz chair is getting old, but holding up nice, unlike the last asshole Spaz chair I had. Yeah, the squeak is the chair. FX Guy says, speaking of boxing, I recently saw a hilarious robot chicken where a boxer is getting beaten bad and he says, save me, Jesus. Then Jesus appears and beats the shit out of his one. I like that one. I had heard, I don't know, it wasn't Jack Johnson. Gosh. I can picture the picture they put beside the article. It was a named fighter, black guy, probably the 20s, maybe the 30s. And a reporter asked him, because he knew he was religious, he said, why? He said, you see a lot of boxers will pray in their corner before a fight. He said, you never do. He said, why is that? And I thought his answer was so fantastic. And this was from somebody who had, back in the day, was especially for black people, it wasn't uncommon for you to have no more than the second grade education. He was completely uneducated and stuff. But his answer was, he says, I thought about it. And suppose that I pray to God and ask him to help me win the fight. And then the other boy on the other side, he prays to God and he asks him to help win the fight. Then you're putting God in a terrible situation. I was like, holy shit. What kind of exceptional human being are you? That instead of, and I'm not a religious person, you guys know at all. But as a religious man, he was thinking more about God's feelings than his own. That's a pretty exceptional guy right there. That has always stayed with me. I read that years and years ago, and that's always stayed with me. It's like, God damn, dude. That's some quality human stuff right there. I don't see a lot of boxing anymore, Boxing Dream, unfortunately. I'll watch any fight. I mean, if boxing is on and I'm in front of the TV, I'm not turning it off. I don't care who's fighting. I was really into it. The 70s with the heavyweights was amazing. I still say the greatest era of heavyweight boxing ever. The 80s with the middleweights and welterweights was freaking phenomenal. You know, when you had Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran and Tommy Hearns. Oh, those fights were phenomenal. And then in the 70s, you had Frazier, Foreman, Ali, Norton, Young, Shavers, not Cooney, Wepner. You had a great fight every other month. I mean, a top flight fight every other month. It was amazing back then. Great fights. RJ says the idea of praying to God for minor assistance seems very disrespectful. Yeah, I think I always had, and just like this guy I was talking about said, when people are actually thinking of God, not just themselves, I get praying and saying, you know, I think you're being a better human if you're praying to God in your corner before the fight. If you're saying, hey, God, please, you know, help us make it to where we both leave with nobody being seriously injured and we can have a good fight. That's a quality request. Asking to win, that's a bit of a stretch. FX guy says George Foreman was a great boxer and an amazing grill. He was a phenomenal boxer. George Foreman was a beast. And you got to give Ali credit. Ali figured a way to beat him in Manila, and it was all Ali thinking on his feet, because the whole rope-a-dope thing, that was not a plan. That happened as it went. I remember reading interviews with Ali, and he said the first time Foreman hit him in the shoulder, he said it sent shockwaves through his body. And he was like, I'm in fucking trouble here. He says, I got to figure something out. And Ali knew he couldn't let him. And this is Muhammad Ali. This is the guy who got punched in the face by Ernie Shavers, who was one of the hardest punchers in the history of the world, square on, and rolled with it and kept fighting. But he said he knew he couldn't take direct shots from Foreman. So he started that whole rope-a-dope thing. He said, the only chance I got is to tire this big boy out. And Foreman fell into his trap. Boy, those were great fights back in the day. CDV says, I loved boxing when I was a kid. Unfortunately, I never got any further from being my daddy's punching bag, but still great memories. Oh, man. Things like that just make me ill. XF says, not being alive during the Four Kings era is depressing for me. Oh, those fights, they were just unbelievable. Unreal. Jimmy, was it Ellis or Young? Jimmy Ellis and Jimmy Young were very similar. One of them fought Ali, and back then you could get a lot of the fights on network TV. It was on network. Young or Ellis, I forgot which one. I think it was Jimmy Ellis. Beat Ali. No doubt beat him in 15-round decision. I watched that fight, and I was shocked, because Ali came in out of shape. He had taken him lightly, and they gave the decision to Ali because Young, Ellis, whichever one of them it was an unknown, and they didn't want him to have the belt. And that really hurt boxing a lot. You know, that set the sport's momentum back significantly, because you got a nationwide audience on network TV back in the day when you only had 3 channels. Everybody was watching the fight, and everybody saw that boxing could be crooked. That really hurt. Chrome says, by the way, I don't watch the Baki reactions, but is a naked, oiled up guy eating biceps now or something? I saw the thumbnail. He is. He's a human that conveniently lived in the era of the dinosaurs, and he was battling T-Rexes for food, and that's why he fights to eat. CJP says, after years of being an anime fan and 12 years of being a fan of the channel, Willie plays Susan asked me, oh, yeah, right. See, okay, Willie, gotcha. I finally started watching Dragon Ball properly. Did ya? It's going to be a fun journey. Going to be a fun journey, Willie. Absolutely going to be fun. I think George Foreman still sells grills, doesn't he, guys? Zuchen asked. I think George Foreman grills are still a thing. They're pretty good. I had one years ago. They work great. His grills are good. No, for real, Chrome. That's the story. That's the story. No, I am 100% serious. Tsunami says, my favorite thing about Ali is him talking shit about Sonny Liston when he didn't even know who he was. Yeah. And you know, I've got a t-shirt. You guys probably seen me wear it, of that famous photo of Ali standing over Liston's prone body. And I don't like the fact that to this day, and mind you, I was not an Ali fan as a kid. Joe Frazier was my boy. I loved Joe Frazier. So as a kid, I was rooted against Ali because he was his nemesis. But as you grow older, you come to appreciate the man and what a brilliant fighter he was. But I always get annoyed by people who still try and say that Liston threw that fight. Sonny Liston was dirty. There's no doubt about it. And he was in it for the money. But Ali hit him with a nasty shot. It's just the TV of the era, you didn't have instant replay or anything. So, and you didn't get a good angle of it. But Ali came up and under, and he put a short right directly on his jaw. Now, could Liston have gotten up? I think he might have been able to get up if he wanted to. But I don't know that he stayed down to do something crooked, or that Sonny Liston, I don't think he was never that devoted to boxing. It was a means for making money. And he had seen Ali's hand speed, and I think Sonny Liston said, fuck that, I don't want to fight this guy. And he stayed down. But for people to say that Ali didn't have anything to do with winning that fight is bullshit. That annoys me when people say that. Boxing Dream says, have you watched the Vince McMahon Netflix documentary? Only episode 1. I got to get back to it. As a matter of fact, I saw episode 1. It was good. There was nothing in there I didn't know, but it was good. I got to get back to it. It's Christian says, Mike Tyson was afraid to fight Hulk Hogan, according to Hulk. Wow. I'd never heard that one, but Hulk Hogan says a lot of things that are pure bullshit. I can't imagine that being the case. I mean, I'm fortunate enough. I never traveled in WWE locker rooms, but I've worked with lots of guys who worked the same era in those locker rooms with Hogan. I have never, ever heard any one of them say anything about Hulk Hogan even resembling a tough guy in real life. Hulk Hogan was not a fighter. I can't imagine Mike Tyson being concerned about fighting Hulk Hogan. There are a lot of guys in those locker rooms that I'm sure even Mike Tyson would have to think twice about getting into a dust-up with. Hulk Hogan is not one of them. Mike Tyson Mysteries was fantastic, RJ. Pigeon was one of the greatest characters ever in TV. CJP says, as someone who sells grills for a living, good old George is still around. Yeah, and he's always been such a delightful guy, too. You know, in his retirement, George just came to have such a calm understanding about himself, his place in history. He does nothing but shower Ali and everybody he fought with praise. He just became a really, really class dude, but he was an amazing beast of a fighter. He would his losses were all attributable to no, I don't want George Foreman is not crazy, he's not stupid. That's not what I mean. Emotional. I shouldn't point to my head. Were emotional things. Because Ali outthought him, which anybody could have fallen into that trap. And after that, Foreman had emotional issues with boxing itself. He really had a tough time coming to grips with having lost to Ali. Because George Foreman was scary. God damn. No. Just some girl without a mustache says, yeah, and Trump said Mike Tyson was scared to box him too. Donald Trump and Vince McMahon might be two of the least athletic human beings I've ever seen. Now, Vince is a bodybuilder, tremendously strong, but look at the way he moves. And anytime he's tried to do anything athletic, him and Trump, and when
Yeah,
Trump
that's
did those things
definitely
with the WWE,
It's true, brother.
I'm not your brother, my guy.
I'm not your guy, dude.
I'm not
That's
your
your dude.
friend.
I'm not your friend, brother.
My goodness, the 80s and 90s are fighting.
that was good. That was a good little skirmish. I like that. That was fun. Chrome says, well, then I just want to remind you then the creator of Baki has a seething hatred of America. In return, Americans turned his daughter into a furry. Oh, shit. I can believe that from watching Baki. I can believe he doesn't like America. Yeah. I didn't like, well, that's part of it. They do so many weird things in Baki. They randomly inserted Muhammad Ali into their storyline. And it's later in his life, and they had to draw him drooling in scenes. That pissed me off. There's absolutely no need for that. Yeah. There's been a lot of things in Baki that didn't sit well. Going Nowhere says, what do you think was the best decade, Curtis? Oof. You mean just in general, Going Nowhere? It would be a more current one. When older people tell you guys how great the good old days were, they have poor memories. Now, every generation, every decade has its ups and its downs. But when I was a kid, I mean, women were second-class citizens. And then I've never been someone with liberal leanings, but even I could see that as a kid and didn't like it. Bullying was rampant. And as I said, women were expected to be, that just I could never get past. Women were expected to know their role. The best decade. See, I don't know that because it would depend on what we're talking about. Best decade for me personally would have been the 2000s when Braxton was born. Best decade, like I said, for boxing, the 70s. Best decade for music? Probably 70s. Best decade for my entertainment? Probably current. I love technology. I'm always going to take the most technically advanced option. So I guess it depends on what we're talking about. Early to mid 2010s was a good time for me too, guys. Anytime after having this channel, I mean, having Spaz Boys Comedy and then by extension the Goosh and everything has changed my life. So that's a lot of the reason I love this current era as much as I do. Big Purple Pop says the best decade is usually the next one. It just feels like the last. That's fair. Chrome says now is the best time for me because I'm starting to earn far more money. Oh, sure, that's a big factor. Oh, sure, 100%, Chrome. See, I've never been. I've always worked. I started working when I was 15, and I've always worked. And if I needed more money, I worked more jobs. So I have been anywhere from lower middle class to on the edge of upper middle class as far as earnings, and never outside of that. So I've always been happy. I mean, would I like to have had more money? We all would, I think. Sure. But I do think I spent my money in ways that have made life nice for me. And by that, I mean on my family and doing things with my family. CJP says, I feel like it's okay to say that you miss specific elements of certain eras. Agreed. But yeah, even missing my childhood, I can say I truly missed the 2000s. Did you see how we dressed, Curtis? Did you see? I did. Indeed, I did. Did you see how we dressed in the 70s? How they dressed? I didn't. I was never one to follow trends or anything. I always had the things I liked. And so from the time I was a kid, it was jeans and t-shirts. That's what I liked wearing. And I didn't care that everybody else had bell bottoms. Like, oh, if you think that looks cool, good for you. I'll wear my jeans. Called them dungarees back then, but they were jeans. I've never been one to follow trends. That's something I'm proud of. I wasn't doing it for a specific reason, but I've always been willing to like what I like. I don't feel pressure to stop liking it because somebody said I should, which is why I'm 63 and still love cartoons. So I've never been a trend follower at all. Yes, the early 2000s were definitely less volatile. Agree with you, Johnny. Agreed. Big Purple Pop says jeans and t-shirts are the American look. Right, and that's what I was comfortable in, you know. That's why I wanted to go outside and play ball and stuff, because you didn't have sweatpants really back then. So I just wanted to be comfortable. I didn't care. You know, I grew up and was a teenager in the era of bell bottoms and white pointy shoes and stuff like that. I always thought that looked lame. I thought it looked stupid, and I wasn't going to do it because somebody else might think it makes me look cool. Corduroy pants. Fortunately, I had them, social disease. Fortunately, I was able to convince my mother that I really hated corduroy pants. I can remember being a kid and having them, and I begged my mom not to buy me anymore. They sucked. They were uncomfortable. Excuse me. And that whoosh, whoosh, whoosh sound they made. Oh, no. They were horrible. They were terrible. Chrome says, all I need to do is keep going and do more exams to raise my wages higher and higher. Each exam is a pay raise. Good for you, Chrome. See, I like seeing people who are out there grinding away. That's why it makes me laugh. And not you guys. I mean, you guys know the schedule I keep and stuff. Check next message, Metal? Okay, I will. But it does make me laugh at one of the channels when somebody will say something about, you do this for a living? It's not, anybody can do this. It's not even work. No, it's not work. I enjoy it. But anybody can do it? No, you, the person writing that, can't do it because you don't realize that. I get up at 5:15, 7 days a week, every single day. And I make videos and I take care of the channels. And I, like when you go on to any of the channels, whether it's the Goosh.
A stereo, what the fuck?
You go on any of the channels, and whether it's YouTube or the Goosh, if I've hearted something, a comment, I read it. I don't go by and just heart something. That would be disrespectful to you guys. So I am involved with what I do, typically, as I said, 7 days a week, at least 12 to 14 hours a day. And then you have people who are trying to get ahead in YouTube, and I always give advice to anybody who asks for it. But then you get the ones who come at you as, well, I don't see how you got 300,000 subscribers. I don't see how you got this or you got that. When I work hard, you don't have any fucking idea. Because if you really did have an idea about working hard, you wouldn't have the time to sit there and bitch about other people. It wouldn't even be a thought to you because you'd be too busy working hard. How much would you say your whole anime collection is worth? Actually, surprisingly, Zuchen, not a lot because it's mostly pops. I don't have any one really expensive item. Probably one of the figures of my girls here, one of them would have probably been the most expensive one I have. And I don't think that was more than $40. So I actually have more money in t-shirts than anything else. And even then, I try, as again, you guys take care of me. I do okay, but I don't have money to throw around. So excuse me, guys. When I order t-shirts or something, it's when they're on sale. TeePublic has sales on the regular, or I go to a store whose name I can never remember. That's in our local mall here. But they have a ton of anime stuff, and I go there and buy t-shirts because you can get them for $7 each, sometimes $8 each. So really, there's not a lot of money, and a lot of the things I have that are most valuable around here, like, it's just out of frame right now, but the katana sitting over there was sent to us that figure of Goku on the shelf was sent to us. A lot of the stuff was sent to us by you guys. And a lot of the stuff that you guys have sent is much more valuable than the stuff I bought. Yeah, pops aren't worth a lot. And again, I buy them on sale. All the stores will have days where it's get 2 pops for $20, buy one, get one half price. So that's when I get them. Yeah, me too, Big Green. It's so easy to get sales on anime shirts. It's crazy to pay full value. It's nuts. I believe that. Chrome says there's a landfill full of pops. I believe that. So really, you'd be surprised. It's not, my anime collection is not monetarily worth a lot. To me, it's worth a lot. It's very...
You want me to get Michelle to take a look?
Take a look.
It's all up in mine. She may as well look at yours. BTW, I call dibs on first row seats to watch. We can go out for Hawaiian pizza made with American cheese and mayo. After no homo, BTW.
American cheese and mayo. Well, no, that's it. Now, Barack Obama just made my shit list. And the whole colon thing was about me shitting. I should probably pluck that part of this stream and just post it to the channel so everybody can revel in my brilliance. I usually buy figures on bundles with goodies. Sometimes they're worth... Oh, that's cool, Joe. Yeah, like I say, now I'm not that cheap. If there was something that I really needed to have, I would put together the money to get it. For instance, well, I can give you an example of that. Fortunately, it didn't cost me a ton, but I would have spent even more for it is... Where am I here? Right here. I absolutely love... You guys know what a nerd I am for the whole Meadow M Komugi scene. Now, if that was expensive, that's something I would have saved up for and bought. Fortunately, it wasn't that expensive. I got lucky. Oh, I love that one, Chrome. That's probably yeah, it's my favorite of all the anime figures and stuff like that I have. That and L sitting in his chair is way up there for me too, and of course my row of ladies there. Oh, RJ, you guys, if you put mayo on a pizza, you need to add pineapple to save it. Come on. Oh, you guys are going to make me yak. Oh, shit. I didn't post today's videos again, guys. I get chatting with you guys. I lose all track of everything else. Just so you guys know, today on this channel, on Spaz Boys, it's a fat electrician reaction. Okay, come on. And over on Grandpa Curtis, it's Luigi's Day Out. I watched Luigi's Day Out again. It got recommended to me. I recognized the title right away. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Oh, hold on. There's an issue with it. Let me see what's going on. I recognized the title right away, and I was like, geez, I think I saw that, and I looked it up. I watched it on the channel almost 8 years ago to the day. Tomorrow will be the 8-year anniversary of posting it, and I couldn't remember any of it. So I watched that again. And now I remember why I thought it was so funny. Jar Binks says pineapple won't say that. Put on peas and banana. That'll do it. That I could live with. Oh, that freaking mayo and American cheese. Oh, and pineapple on pizza is just gross to me. I mean, it's not puke-inducing like mayo and American cheese are. It's just a bad life choice. I tell my wife that all the time. She loves Hawaiian pizza. I keep telling her there's shit wrong with her. Boxing Dream says, my real name is Callum, by the way. I just joined your Discord. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys more. Well, thanks. I'm glad you found a home here. We like having you. I'll be interested to see how your boxing career works out. Wolverine says, I think you missed a super chat. Oh, thanks, pal. Was I Oh shit. Was I might have been because I was looking back at the shelf. Oh yes. Metal said to watch for his next post, and then I forgot. That's what I missed. Thank you. Sorry about that, Metal. Metal says my favorite decade is this one. We have access to all the movies, music, and games of every prior decade. What clears all that is having my first kid. Oh, that'll do it. He turns 1 in 2 weeks. Named Dusty after Dream. Really? Named Dusty after the American Dream? That's cool, Metal. And thank you, Wolverine, for reminding me. Thank you. That's very cool. Yeah, that's why I say, for me personally, it'd be tough to ever beat the 2000s because, that's when we had Brax. And then in the 2011 is when we started the channel. So I've been really lucky as I've gotten older. Very lucky. Very fortunate to be getting to do all this. Okay, it is later than I thought. I got to go, you guys. Guys, thank you so much. Let me double check and make sure that I didn't get a delivery while we were doing this. Because I would have shown you that xenomorph that I'm going to put up there. It's just... There it is! We'll be right back. I love the we'll be right back. And then I was just going to say, there's our boy Plankton. No, it's still out for delivery, guys. Shit. Oh, and they even made the time later that's going to get here. So, all right. But I will, for those of you who came along with me on the Alien Isolation ride, to commemorate it, I'm going to move my Curtis Candy figure out and put it over on my new shelves over here. And Xenomorph will go up there just so we have a memento, a reminder of that fun time we had playing that game. All right, you guys, thank you again for hanging out with me. This was another great conversation with nobody getting inflamed, nobody getting riled up, and we had a great political chat. I defy any place else, here, Twitch, or anywhere, to do that. And nobody name calls, nobody gets out of line. I appreciate that a lot, you guys. Okay, and next stream, not sure what we'll do next. Probably either Brax might be here tomorrow, or Brax will be here tomorrow if I get to stream, so him and I might play a game. If not, it'll probably either be some more Dragon Ball or more Silent Hill 2. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to y'all again real soon.